Hi students, today we are going to learn yet another lesson, The Beggar by Anton Chekhov. It is a short story written by Anton Chekhov. Let us now try to travel and understand the story well. The story begins with a beggar's pleas to an advocate, Scorzo. The beggar says that he has not eaten in 3 days. For 8 years, he was a village school teacher and fell victim to a conspiracy that cost him his reputation and his job. For a year, he has had no employment. Scorzo looks at the beggar's overcoat and face. He thinks he has seen him elsewhere. The beggar further explains that he has been offered a position in the province of Kalyuga, but to take it up, he needs money. Scorzo, the lawyer, observes the beggar's horseshoes. One is higher than the other. He suddenly remembers where he had seen the beggar before. He tells the beggar that 2 days ago he had met him in Sadovia Street, and the latter had claimed that he had been a student who had been expelled. The beggar is really surprised to hear from the advocate, and the beggar claims that he has papers to prove that he was a village school teacher. But the lawyer turns away from him disgusted. Scorzo, the lawyer, says that for this fraud he will call the police. At this, the beggar confesses that he used to be part of a Russian choir and had been expelled for drunkenness. He says he has no choice but to lie, as no one will help him if he tells them the truth. He says if he says the truth, no one would give him the money. If he is deprived of money, he would have nothing to eat and no money to get himself lodged. That would cause him to die freezed outside. The advocate tells him to work. He asks the beggar if he would like to chop wood for him. The beggar accepts. Scorzo takes the beggar home and tells his cook, Olga, to take him to the woodshed. It becomes apparent from the beggar's body language that he has accepted the job only out of pride and shame, and not because he wants to work. It is also apparent that the beggar has become frail because of drinking vodka and does not have the slightest will to do hard work. Scorzo observes Olga and the beggar from the window in the dining room. He sees them making their way through the snow to the woodshed. Olga does not seem to take kindly to the beggar. Upon reaching the shed, Olga asks the beggar to cut the wood. Olga flings an axe at his feet, spits angrily, and appears to be scolding him. At this point, the beggar begins to make half-hearted attempts to chop a piece of wood. By now, the lawyer's anger has vanished, and he begins to feel ashamed at having sent a spoiled, drunken, and perhaps sick man to do hard labor in the cold weather. After an hour, Olga informs Scorzo that all the wood has been chopped. Scorzo tells her to pay the beggar half a ruble and also tell him that he can come back to cut wood on the first day of every month. There would always be work for him too. On the first date of the next month, the waif comes to chop wood and earns half a ruble again, though he can barely stand steady on his feet. After that, the returns to Squattso's yard many times and is given work every time. Every time he is paid 20 to 40 kopecks. And one time he is also given a pair of old trousers. When Squatso moves to a new house, the waif is hired to help with the packing and moving of the furniture. This time he becomes silent, sober, and gloomy. He does not even pretend to be working. He shivers in the cold and becomes embarrassed when the carters laugh at his behavior and his tattered overcoat. Squatso sends for him and says he is happy that the beggar is working and is sober now. He asks his friends to give him a job. The beggar says he is ready to take up the work. Squatso asks his name. The beggar reveals his name as Lashkov. Squatso offers him a better job and asks Lashkov if he can write. When Lashkov says that he can write, Squatso asks him to take a letter to someone the next day where he will be given copying work. Squatso reminds him to work hard, be sober, and remember his words. Squatso is happy at having set Lashkov, the beggar, on the right path. Lashkov takes the letter and after that day does not return to work for Squatso. 2 years go by. One day when Squatso is buying tickets at a theatre's ticket window, he notices a small man beside him, wearing a coat collar of curly fur and a worn sealskin cap. This man timidly asks for a ticket and pays in copper coins. Squatso realizes this man is Lashkov and asks him what he has been doing. Lashkov says he is doing well. He is a notary and earns 35 rubles a month. Squatso is delighted and tells Lashkov that he is almost like a godson to him. He reminds Lashkov of the scolding he had given him and thanks him for not forgetting his words. Lashkov thanks Squatso as well and says that had it not been for Squatso's help, Lashkov would probably still be lying and begging. He expresses his gratitude to the lawyer but says that it was Olga who saved him. He explains that when he used to go to the lawyer's house, Olga would sit opposite him, become sad and weep, saying that Lashkov was an unfortunate drunkard who would find no happiness in this life or the next. She would cry and be miserable, but most importantly, she would chop wood for him. He confesses that he never chopped a single piece of wood and that she had done it all. He cannot explain how this act changed him and saved him. All he knows is that her words and kind deeds changed his heart, set him on the right path, and he would never forget that. Then the theatre's bell rings and Lashkov bows and goes inside the gallery. Dear friends, the title, The Beggar, is symbolic. It appears to be a story about a beggar, a young man who had no aim or ambition, who had taken to lying to make some money. Given a right path, he proves himself and he becomes a happy person. What can be the theme of this short story? The story revolves around the theme of kindness and compassion. It highlights the human failing of being judgmental and labeling people, while highlighting the ability of a person to change with the right motivation. Dear students, what is the message that is given by this story? The strongest message of the story is the effect that kindness can have on another human being. So let us be kind to the poor, let us treat people well, and give them a chance to prove themselves so that they get yet another chance to prove themselves and become happier in their life. I hope you have learned the story well. Thank you. Have a good day.